Hello guys, gals and gamers, welcome back to my one-man talk show, starring me and absolutely no one else. Before we begin this video, remember to like and subscribe, comment down below. I want to start a discussion with my videos, so I appreciate every single comment. Then also, you can share this video with whoever you like, your family, your friends, your grandmother and your milkman. So let's just begin with this video this week, which is about Nintendo games on PC and why haven't we really seen any. I wanted to make this video because a few weeks ago I saw this article by PC Gamer, if I remember correctly. They were just talking about why Nintendo has been avoiding PC and why it's a bit silly that they are. And to a degree, I agree with that article and they made a few good points about it, but I still wanted to expand on it. And it is a bit silly that Nintendo has not had any games on PC, but also kind of understandable if you think about what kind of a company Nintendo is. So today in this video, we are going to be talking about Nintendo games on the PC, why it should happen, why it has not happened, and if Nintendo would ever do it, how, and a bit also when. But that said, let's begin with the why section. Yeah, let's begin with why. So the most common argument on why Nintendo should be doing PC games is of course because it would have a larger audience, more people to play Nintendo games, more people to enjoy Nintendo games, and it would also bring lots more money to Nintendo. But people have used this argument as well for Nintendo to bring their games to other consoles, which is, that's not gonna happen, but it would definitely make sense to bring them more to the PC than to other consoles, because then you would still be able to sell Switches and that would not make the Switch irrelevant. They're also in the PC Gamer article, they mentioned the GDC survey that says over half of developers are using PC as their main platform or something like that. So that is definitely something games are being made for PC. It's a very popular platform, so Nintendo definitely should take advantage of that platform in some way. And other companies have been doing that as well. Microsoft, for example, well, it makes sense for Microsoft to do games on PC because Xbox, Windows operating systems are both owned by Microsoft, so it definitely makes sense to have some synergy going on between those two. But even Sony has been doing PC games lately with Horizon Zero Dawn and that kind of games releasing on Steam, and that bringing new players to the Horizon series. People are getting more excited for the Horizon 2, I don't remember what the name is, Forbidden West maybe, and it's definitely a good move for Sony to do so as well. So it would make sense if Nintendo were to follow. They haven't really done anything on PC since the days of Mario Teacher's Typing or something, but definitely could be something Nintendo could look at, but maybe not. There would also probably be better performance and graphics, at least people hope so, because at the moment the Nintendo Switch can only do 720p on handheld, and on TV it's limited to 1080p, and frame rates can be locked at 30, rarely 60, and that kind of stuff. So definitely would make having games on the PC for them to be better in performance and graphics. So that would definitely make people buy even some older games if they would just perform better. And next is better online, possibly. It would still be made by Nintendo, the online, maybe. I'm not that sure on how the online infrastructures work, but people have been wishing for better online if Nintendo games were to come for PC. Okay, next a little bit on the why not section. Well, first of all, PC Gamer is popular in the West. think about that sentence and think about why Nintendo doesn't like that sentence. Well, it has to do with the West. PC gaming is very popular in Europe and in the Americas, but it is not so popular in Japan and other Eastern regions. And what you have to think about with Nintendo is that they are very much so an Eastern and very much so a Japan-focused company. And if you think like, hey, Sony is also a Japanese company and they are putting games on the PC, they are a Japanese company, sure, but they are very Western focused nowadays. So it doesn't really connect still. And if you still think Sony is a very Japanese company, then how's that Japan Studios going for you? Yeah. Next is Nintendo is kind of very conservative, not politically, just like in general as a company. They are very conservative. They do stuff like they have always done. They don't really like to try something new. And when they do, they like to do their own thing. So they don't just hop on any trend because it's popular and it's making money. They hop on trends if they absolutely have to. And for Nintendo, consoles are still the key. They want to sell Switches, and Switches are something that actually makes them money. For other console manufacturers, you have your Xbox and your Sony. They sell their consoles usually at a loss, but that is not the case for Nintendo, so they do want to keep in the console business because consoles give them a lot of money. And then, while they own the consoles, though, it's a controlled environment for them. So there's lots of benefits for having your own console rather than just posting and porting your games on other consoles. That is much, much less money, even though you would sell more copies. Console market is still going strong, despite many are fear-mongering that the cloud will take over, the mobile side will take over. We have been going around this for over 10 years that it will soon be the end of consoles, but consoles are still doing fairly well. You can see that from like the PS5 sales. Recently released console still doing pretty well, and the only reason that it's not doing any better is because of the global chip shortage. The global chip shortage. It's because of the global chip shortage, yeah. And if it weren't for that, they would still be selling like much more units than it is currently selling. Next in the why not section is because Nintendo likes to offer unique gameplay experiences, and you can't always do that on a PC. If you port it to other platforms, you might lose some of that magic that those games had. Even if it's like a small thing, like in Super Mario Odyssey, the all sorts of way you can throw your hat around you or upwards or that kind of stuff. Sure, you can bind it to a keyboard, but still it's a different thing. It's a different thing than just pressing a button and just reacting like this and this and this. It's more active gameplay, and that's what Nintendo wants you to experience. The reason why a lot of us love Nintendo games is because they are carefully crafted experiences, lots of polish most of the time, but still they do better when they know their console well. And if it were on PC, that would not be the case. And some things you can only do with a certain console. You can only do motion tracking the way a Wii does. You can only have your console, like a controllers be apart like the Joy-Cons, like a Ring Fit type of a game or Labo type of a game. They can only be done on the Nintendo Switch, and those are the kinds of new experiences that Nintendo wants you to have. Well, yeah, you wouldn't obviously port those kinds of games, but still some games like Super Mario Odyssey, Zelda Breath of the Wild, which are like the bigger ones, still have like small portions of those that can't really be executed as well on other platforms, or would have to be completely changed for other platforms. So yeah, for Nintendo, also it's not always about the money, which is something I like about Nintendo as a company. It's a very non-Western view of a company, that they really care about their products that they put out for the customers. You can definitely see not always being about the money with Nintendo's approach to mobile, which they did in the Wii U era. Started doing like mobile games. They were like very weird, very experimental. You had your Super Mario runs, your Miitomos and that kind of stuff. And even there were interviews of like Cygames who did like Dragalia Lost, which was a unique IP for Nintendo, put it on mobile. And then there were interviews of like, hey, we wanted to monetize more and more, but Nintendo was clearly uncomfortable with it and told us no. Nintendo also wanted to make like their own games for mobile and didn't just want to port out like old Duck Hunt games or old Mario games for mobile, like something like Capcom or Square Enix is doing, but they wanted to have their own experiences made specifically for mobile, and they were clearly uncomfortable with some of the trends going on in the mobile landscape, so they didn't really find success, maybe a few times, but definitely not with all of the games that they make. And if they were to do something for the PC, I also think they would try to do their own thing in some way. And how this goes is they would probably do their own platform, their own launcher. It would definitely not be on Steam. And making that launcher or platform would definitely like take time. So it's definitely like not worth the effort in Nintendo's eyes. And last thing in the why not category is just that they don't need it. They currently don't need it. They are doing very well with the Switch. They don't plan on going anywhere. The Switch still has like a few years for its life cycle. There's easily like 4 years to still pump out Switch games, and then they are already figuring out the next console. Whether it is a success or not, we will just have to see. But I think they will try to do something very different again, and hopefully it will be a success. So yeah, moving to the how section. If Nintendo were to make games on PC, which I do not think it is impossible, say that. I think if they were to do it, everyone who asked for Nintendo games on PC would absolutely hate it. They would absolutely despise it, how Nintendo does it. There would be like dozens of articles saying like, Nintendo is really screwing up the PC game and here's why. And the number one thing is that they're doing their own thing. There would definitely be no Steam. They would have their own platform, like I said. Definitely would not allow modding or anything like that. It would be like a very controlled environment for them. No huge Steam-like sales on their products. Like PC gaming is really popular because you can get like games sometimes like very cheaply from like big Steam sales. Not gonna happen. Nintendo's not gonna lower the prices for anything. There's still gonna be like $60 if it's like a Super Mario Galaxy from the Wii. $60. Nothing else. They're gonna be very expensive. Performance will not be as good as you might imagine. They will probably not run well. They will not be 4K, 120 FPS. Oh no, unless they do it in like a time where they have like a handheld that can already do that. But I would imagine no, they would be performing significantly worse than other companies' games. And yeah, it would definitely have its own launcher where they would have all of the control. There would definitely be problems with that launcher because Nintendo doesn't really understand the environment they are in. Nintendo doesn't usually do that anyways. They struggled in mobile a bit because, well, one, they didn't want to do what everyone else was doing, and they were clearly uncomfortable with some of the trends going on in the mobile landscape. So yeah, all in all, Nintendo is a very unique kind of a company, and it's best said just as Nintendo is just Nintendo. It's very hard to predict them, and they like to do things their own way, really. And they will keep their focus on consoles as long as they're doing great, and now they are doing very great. But if they are not doing great, if the next Switch will be the next Wii U, then we might definitely see some things changing, maybe more focusing on the mobile side, but maybe also focusing more on the PC side. As you remember, as I said before, in the Wii U era, when Nintendo really was struggling, Nintendo decided to try out mobile games, and then they had a few mobile games, and I can see this thing coming again. If Nintendo releases a bad console that's not as profitable, they will test their waters, tip their toes in the waters of PC gaming a bit, release a few games on the PC, especially if the PC market decides to suddenly grow a bit, then I definitely do think it is possible. But what do you guys think about this? What kind of games would you want to see by Nintendo on PC? Would you like to see them at all in the first place? When do you think it will happen? And what do you just think about this video in general? Please let me know, and check out my other videos while you're at it. I have some very cool, exciting videos, very much like this one. And so check them out. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.